What is going on, everybody? If I'm a little bit out of breath, it is because I just ran and grabbed my water with about 15 seconds left. But I got it. We're ready to rock and roll. That way I can talk for a long time because we have a lot of stuff to get into. Brian will be here soon. Don't worry. He is currently checking into a hotel. He'll be in from his phone. So give it about maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then he will be in here. Mr. Brightside getting in here early. What's going on, man? Excited for some football chat. Yeah, we have a lot of that to get into. What's going on, Justin? Appreciate you. Go Big Red. The Iamaleava news has been nuts lately, that it has. It's Indian Taco Tuesday. Fong Wei always dropping in the Taco Tuesdays. Mike, dropping in. Yo. What's going on, man? I appreciate y'all tuning in. Everybody that's tuning in now, if y'all don't mind dropping a like on the stream, but drop your comments. We're going to get into those as we go through the show. Again, Brian will be here very soon. So, in the meantime, while he gets there, let's talk about the Iamaleava news real quick. Yeah, and Mike, I'm going to get into that in just a second. I got the video up. I'm going to play that in just a second as well. But the Iamaleava news, going on with that. I talked about this yesterday on Monday Night Therapy on Coordination Show with Minnie Hunt. It was one of those things where it's like, the backlash, while well warranted. One of the things I said yesterday was, there's a huge risk reward, right? And I don't think Iamaleava is worried about the court of public opinion on that situation, right? But my thing on it was this: let's let it play out and see, because when it's going to hit them the most is when it hits his pocketbook. If the market value isn't what he expects his own market value to be, it doesn't matter what he thinks his value is. It matters what the market value is. Now, I'm not sure if it was 100% his idea or his dad's. There's both of those floating around there. So I'm not 100% sure, but still, it's not a good look. And now you got teams that are kind of pulling out of the sweepstakes. I think Tulane pulled out today. It's kind of looking almost like, he's not going to get the money that he really, it's probably going to hit him a little bit, and he's going to make a little bit less, which I'm not surprised by. Tennessee is a team that can push out a lot of money. They got the SEC money. They're a big school with a big donor base, but they can go ahead and push out, money to give to a quarterback to keep him around. And they weren't even willing to negotiate past what he wanted. So it was really going to take a school that was very desperate to throw as much money as he wanted at him. And so, I said that yesterday. I was like, don't worry about it. Because the thing about it is, if it plays out in his favor, right, then he was, I don't want to say correct in doing so because of the way he went about it, but it worked out for him. And I think that's one of the things, that's the only thing he's worried about, not worried about the backlash. Now, the problem here too is, do teams want to take a risk on a guy who's willing to do that to his team, on a guy who's going to sit here and try to leverage more money, or say I'm out? There's no loyalty factor there. And I don't think that's something they factored into kind of how this was going to impact him negatively. But again, that's why I said let it play out, because that's going to be the ultimate punch to the gut of him, so to speak, as opposed to everybody kind of, trashing him and stuff like that, was if it hits his pocketbook. And I think that's what we were all hoping would happen, just because the precedent he's setting here is a bad precedent. And there might be stuff that comes from this that could be for the better. I don't know if I talked about it yesterday, but I don't know if there's going to be kind of maybe in the future collective bargaining agreement kind of between the players and the NCAA to kind of get a handle on all this NIL stuff, because there's going to have to be regulation at some point. Again, this is turning into almost like a professional type of, league situation. So they're going to have to treat it as such, and they're going to have to really kind of get a handle on this stuff, or it's going to continue to get out of control. We've seen how quickly, this has gotten out of control over time. I don't think any of us expected this. Name, image, and likeness, of course, was first, so you can profit off your name, sell autographs, do stuff like that. And the pay-to-play model, came around a little later, and it's one of those things where it's just like, it's going to be soon where these guys are making more than NFL players to some extent. And that's what's a little out of control. And so maybe some good will come for this Nico Iamaleava situation. His brother, Madden Iamaleava, is going to be, he's a 4-star in this 2025 class. So, his little brother's coming up too. So we'll see if his dad is kind of the same, does this hurt his little brother? If his dad is calling the shots, like a lot of people say, is this going to affect his little brother negatively too? Because then they still have to deal with the backlash of his dad. So I think this is a really bad decision situation all around for them both, because this could impact his other son negatively. So, we'll see what happens with all that. And, Madden Iamaleava was originally, actually, I believe committed to UCLA. But yeah, so very interesting how this is all played out. But we got that news today that Tulane has pulled out, and it seems like a lot of schools are kind of out on that process. Not sure exactly, what they're asking and stuff like that, but we'll see. But so far, looking good. Let me see. Let me get into this. Yeah, thank you, Will Compton. As much as we hate them, congrats to Travis Hunter's jersey retirement. Why on earth Shadur is being retired is beyond me. My thing about it is, why are they retiring the jersey so early? I understand, Travis Hunter won the Heisman and all that stuff, but I mean, dude hasn't even been drafted yet. So I mean, yeah, good on him for that. But they've retired 4 jerseys in the past, and this is the only exceptions they've made. Well, now 6, but these 2 are the only exceptions they made to kind of get them retired, like the season right after the season they played. And so to me, it just comes across a little bit like, favoritism, of course, because you got to think Dion may have pushed for that. But yeah, so that situation's interesting. But yeah, if anything, Travis Hunter does deserve it. But yeah, Shadur, not 100% sure on that. That's the one that I think Dion probably pushed for, which was kind of wild, because they're willing to give him anything. Oh, looks like Brian needs to link to get in. Sorry about that, Brian. Hold on, let me go ahead and DM him the link so he can hop in here as well, and we can get into the rest of the Nebraska football situation. So 1 second. It appears he's checked into his hotel and ready to rock and roll. So I'm gonna get into some of his comments here. I heard his dad runs a show. Exactly. Barnum and Bailey would have loved to see it today in college football. The people that advocated for NIL said this would never happen. Yeah, exactly. Minnie is in here. Go Big. I appreciate you hopping in here. Minnie, we got Brian in here as well. Brian.
Finally here.
Looking a little sleepy from that drive. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah. Can you hear me all right? I'm on my Bluetooth.
Yeah, we can hear you. How long was the drive?
6 hours.
6 hours?
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have ever driven across Kansas, but it's a whole lot of wheat fields and cow farms, and that's about it.
I drove from Texas to Nebraska a lot, and driving up through Kansas, it's like the same. I feel like it's the same gas station, and was it a McDonald's like the whole way through? Like it's like really? I see a copy and pasted of that same thing the entire way through Kansas. So yeah, we're talking about the Nico Iamaleava situation, or Iamaleava. That's what everybody's
Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah. Judy, what's going on? 13-12 record, never won a bowl game. Because Travis is a great YouTube channel. He does. This isn't what anybody advocated. Yeah, I believe, but some of them said it wouldn't happen. But I believe, yeah, we did want a structured system, and we thought that it wouldn't be thrown out there just willy-nilly and just be kind of the Wild West, which it's turned into. Dion definitely pushed for it. Said he'd leave if they didn't. Gotcha. I know we all did, but they did that. Plus the expanded playoffs to make a buck. People supported it. We need limits at least. I hate how selfish players are now. Yeah, it's trying to find that middle ground between getting the players, what their self-worth, what they want, and then still kind of making sure that this doesn't go too far, and that the teams are basically SOL with trying to keep a roster intact. So, all right, we can go ahead and get into some Nebraska stuff here. So, I sent Brian over this earlier, but talking about the running back that I mentioned here that is entering the portal that a little bit ago, probably about an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, you texted me about it. It's big time.
Josh McCray, right? Who's a running back that I really like. I broke him down a lot in the Illinois film review, and then the film study that I did, or the preview for the Illinois game, the film study I did after. But just running through some stuff for Josh McCray here. Big old boy, 6'1", 235, something like that. But he is a versatile player to an extent. So Citrus Bowl MVP, Cheez-It Citrus Bowl MVP, ran for 114 yards, 2 touchdowns on 13 carries, and of course had that that finishing touchdown there that basically put the nail in the coffin. Now the big interesting part of this is, of course, Emmett Johnson's going to be the one. We all know that. What he adds is kind of like a Quentin Ives style of player almost, but with more experience, right? As a senior. Yeah. But 2 weeks ago, he was feeling great. He said he was feeling great about sharing carries. So that's something that may, I'm not sure if that was a factor in transferring, but 2 weeks ago, he said he was feeling good about it. His quote was, in the NFL, you don't really see the running backs going out there all the time. You see them rotating all the time. So he said, this is kind of preparing us for the next level. So I feel like McCray is a guy who Nebraska can get without having to pay a top running back premium. He can caught 13 passes for 116 yards, team leader in rushing yards, 11 touchdowns from scrimmage. The portal opens tomorrow, and I believe it runs through April 25th. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on McCray?
I think it'd be a really big option for Nebraska to get a true power back that has experience. That's the one thing, when we talk about the running backs, it's not that we don't think that they're talented that Nebraska has.
Yes.
It's just there's no experience.
100%.
And so that's our concern. It's not like someone in our comments says like we were trying to shoot people off. And I'm like, no, you have to have talent and you have to have depth. Coach Holgorsen said it himself. Every season you need that third running back. And right now Nebraska doesn't have a third running back according to Coach Holgorsen.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have a true power back outside of Quentin Ives. Yes. I think Nebraska absolutely should kick the tires on a true guy that can get you that 2 or 3 yards when you need it. He does have versatility, like you mentioned, but really we need somebody that can go out in the I formation and get you those yards when you need them.
Yep. Which is something that he was able to do, while he didn't in some games average a high yards per carry. He was just that guy that came in and just kind of wore down that defensive line, just run him over and over with that big body. And he was able to, withstand the grind of the season. He has Big Ten experience. And yes, this is another thing here. All the Cal running backs hit the portal. So 4 of those guys hit the portal. Wow. I do feel like if we are going to go after somebody, McCray should be the priority, but those are some guys that we could then look at as well. So we might do a video breaking down all of the running back options. But it all depends on how quickly this plays out, because it could be bing, bing, bing right as soon as that portal opens. So, Mike, appreciate you donating $2, man. Thank you so much. Any contributions are welcome. So much as like, view, comment really, really helps us out. So, if we take another back, does Ives leave? I don't think so.
What's the eligibility like on? I drew a blank on his name. I was talking about
Quentin Ives. Or
the Illinois running back.
I think he's got 1 year to play. I believe he's a senior.
So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And Quentin Ives is a sophomore. So I think that I think Ives would be willing to stay, because I think that he knows his value here. Like Matt Rule and the offensive staff really value what Quentin Ives brings to the table. What is that noise in the background?
Probably the hotel lobby.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, Ives, I don't think he would leave. And again, I think they value him enough. And I don't think his market would be there 100% just because he hasn't gone out there and been able to show himself fully. But another thing with the running back depth too is we're sitting here off of the 2023 season where, we had injury after injury after injury to our running back. So that depth is important. That experience is important. And we, you did a running back breakdown, talk about Mekhi Nelson and stuff like that. By the way, Mekhi's dad sent me the video of him playing quarterback. So I want to show that too one day on here. But it's no knock on those guys. It's just a matter of he has Big Ten game playing experience and has played in big games and showed up. And
there's value in that.
100%. And that leadership too. Like he would be a great mentor for Quentin Ives because, similar builds, their playing style is probably very similar. And he would be a great mentor for him, just kind of showing him the ropes of what he's learned, over time in his preparation, even and stuff like that. So I think all around that would be a perfect fit. And that's why as soon as that news dropped, I reposted and I'm like, let's go get him. Let's try to go get him, go after him and see if truly he is down to kind of do a, rotational style of running back, room. Who knows? Maybe he changed his mind on that from 2 weeks ago, but I don't know. I think no matter where he goes, he's the type of running back that's going to be kind of mixed into a rotation because while he is a little bit versatile, he's not like that fully versatile guy like an Emma Johnson that a lot of the teams want nowadays. Big physical backs are kind of, they're I don't want to say a thing of the past, but now they're much more of role players in a lot of instances. So, yeah, that would be huge. That would almost make up for the Hardly Gilmore departure there. Ives is getting old. He might be getting impatient. I don't necessarily think so, man. He's a sophomore, so I don't think he's that old where he's going to again. And what? Let's say he does leave this late in the process. Where's he going to go that he's going to get a role on a team that he might have a role like he will on this team?
That's one thing people need to consider is if he does hit the portal, like you said, he has shown very little on film other than on kick returns. If he wants to go play, he's going down to the FCS ranks or he's going to a group of 5 school. He's not going to transfer to another Power 5 program.
Yeah.
And if he does, so be it. This is the transfer portal era now. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. People are going to leave. It's going to happen all the time. We just saw it with Dante Dowdell out of nowhere after the season ended or before it really ended. He was gone.
Yep.
It is what it is.
And the thing about it is, if that's the trade-off where, Ives leaves and McCray comes in, that makes us immediately better this year. And that's a big aspect of it too. While Quentin Ives hurts the future, that move makes us better immediately this year. So I think they're hyping him up because it's lying season. No, I don't think so.
They've been hyping him up his whole career.
Listen, I've been hyping him up too. But Brian knows. Me and Brian kind of have differing opinion on Ives, but I'm all for him, and I'm a big fan of Ives. I think he'll do very well. But I might grow on that. Who knows? Mediocre player and a mediocre team is what Nebraska's looking for. Who's a mediocre player?
Illinois was 10-3 last year, and they beat South Carolina.
Yeah, Fongwei, I think you're very misguided on that one.
And they beat us.
That's kind of crazy. James Williams, shut up. You'll be lucky to see the field. We're going to get into that too. So let's go ahead and transition over to that. Let me get into a couple more of these about the running backs. Knowing how Rule rolls, if we need another running back, probably offering, just waiting for the portal to open. Yeah, exactly. What's going on? Appreciate you hopping in here, man. Howdy. So let's go ahead and dive into the James Williams comment real quick. Won't spend too much time in it. And Mike, again, thank you for the $5, man. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
We got differing opinions here. James Williams stating the obvious. Fongwei, I don't know what's up with your football knowledge right now, but it's very lacking, I think. I don't know if you just woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Florida State get beat by like 3 scores against the team that Nebraska beat in the Pinstripe Bowl?
Yeah, last time I checked, they had 2 wins.
And Nebraska, other than the last 5 minutes of the Pinstripe Bowl, was completely dismantling Boston College, who Florida State scored 10 points on.
Yeah. And so
same team. Okay.
What were your thoughts over on the James Williams comments? I gave mine yesterday on Coronation, so I'll be brief with mine whenever after you go, but I'm curious to your thoughts on it.
I think he is a very misguided person right now. I think he very much wants people to talk about him. Just the quote that came to my mind was the Travis Kelce quote to the Cincinnati mayor after the AFC Championship: "Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni." Because if he's talking that smack about our D-line, the D-line that he could barely see the field on, what does that say about where he's at right now on their defensive line room? The guy had 5 sacks last year, and 4 of them came against Rutgers, who sucks, and Purdue, who I think won 1 game last year.
Yeah.
He has very little accomplishments for how big he is speaking. He needs to just shut up, focus on Florida State. Look in the rear view, not the mirror. Happy if you have success, but dude, it's been months since you left. There's no reason to be talking about us.
Yeah, and to me, right, it comes across almost like a scorned ex-girlfriend type of situation where but the
Hmm.
thing about it is, most players in this situation, people talk about, well, he was just answering the question he was asked. He can always take the high road. I forget
Yeah.
who it was yesterday, but it was a great pull of a video of Casey Thompson. I wish I could remember the name of the page, the X page, so I could give them credit. I'll try to go back and do that. But it was Casey Thompson when they asked him about his previous time at Texas. And I'm not looking backwards. I don't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about this team and
Yep.
moving forward with this team. And, so even he took the high road. Casey Thompson took the high
Yep.
road. James Williams frames everything with, no disrespect, right? But then follows it up with disrespectful comments. And he may
Yeah.
not see them as disrespectful comments because he comes across quiet and meek when he says it, but it is. If anybody said
Yep.
that about him, right, he would feel some type of way about that. And I think the
Yep.
biggest thing is Nebraska fans really gravitated towards him at the end of that season because of the heartfelt moment that he had with Pot Roast. And
Yep.
but to me now, it almost seems like his relationship was not with the fans or with the school. His relationship was just with Pot Roast. And
Yep.
I think we fell into that trap. And I think now we're seeing that he really didn't have respect for the school, didn't really have a lot of respect for his teammates. And it's a kid who's not really going to be able to go to the NFL, in my opinion, because he talked about it in the press conference last year where he's like, I'm a much smaller guy, so I gotta pay way more attention to my body and stuff like that. He's much leaner in terms of pass rushers, and take care of his body a lot better because it breaks down a lot quicker. So that's why he's a guy who can't take snap after snap after snap and is a package guy. But then the
Yep.
guy he was comparing Ty Robinson to, they says much bigger, I believe, is I believe Ty Robinson is an inch taller and was only 20 pounds lighter that he was listed as.
And they
So
play different positions.
100%. Yes. That's
One's a
the other
D end
part.
and one's a nose tackle. Like, yeah, I hope that guy's freaking bigger. Like, it was just an ignorant statement. The whole thing was just ignorance.
It was. And, my post went around of it being that he needs to learn respect. And I think the biggest thing that people are talking about, like, he'll grow from this, but I don't necessarily think so because the day after, he posted that little gif of a bunch of people standing around a phone looking at
He
it, and then
doubled
all of a
down.
sudden they ran away laughing, right?
Hmm.
And to me, to grow from a situation, you have to accept accountability and that and realize where you were wrong in that. And it doesn't seem like
Yeah.
that's the case. It's almost like Terrence Knighton has a lot to learn on leadership because he's almost encouraging that with his tweet, basically saying
Yep.
nothing. He basically said, James Williams is allowed to have an opinion just like everybody else is. Okay, thanks for telling us we're all allowed to have an opinion, so our opinions are valid too, right? So
Yep.
just saying nothing without saying it, but basically backing him up, which I believe he should have made him delete that, call him aside, and had
Yep.
a talk with him. So leadership's lacking, and that makes me feel a lot better about, James Williams being gone just because, he wasn't, I guess, all in with the university. He was all in on Terrence Knighton.
People forget that he almost got kicked off the team when he first arrived.
Yep. And
There is a lot of character issues with him. There's a reason why nobody touched him out of high school. It wasn't just because he had poor academics. Keep in mind, he had 23 sacks as a senior in high school.
yep,
He was very talented, but nobody wanted to touch him. And there was a reason. And you're kind of seeing some of that bubble to the surface right now.
yep, exactly.
It's unfortunate.
Let's see about the comments on these. It's funny how James Gomes saying Nebraska the best D line belonged, saying the
Yep.
criminals are better now. Exactly. FSU allowed 28 points per game last year. Exactly, Justin. Exactly. I think if you'd poll people who are not Nebraska fans, they say overall of the past. We're not talking about the past 20 years, Fong Wei. That's
I'm out right
that's
now.
not what we're talking about. We're talking about the current state of the team. So historic. This is talking about a running back situation, right? That's what we're talking about. About are we talking about just like Florida State's D line this year? The running back situation earlier. You said we're getting it from a 10-3 team, and now you're going to say a 2-10 team is better than Nebraska. So a 10-3 team's mediocre. A 2-10 team's better than Nebraska because of what they did the last 20 years. That has nothing to do with today, which is what this entire conversation is about. I have no idea what
Yeah.
Fongway's talking about right now. Exactly, Justin. I appreciate that. I don't care if we get players from Screw You, if we can coach them up. Just ignore them, y'all. Douglas. Exactly. No, we're not doing that. Told Justin he looked puffy. Notice how he breaks out the guns today. Yeah, no, it's laundry day, man. So I just had to grab what I could. I'm not looking puffy, bro. What are you talking about? I'm cranking up the boxing right now. I'm 7.2% body fat. Come on. Please just ignore Fongway for us all. All right, Fongway, you're in timeout. About to time your ass out. I love Fongway to death, but sometimes he got really good takes. Sometimes his takes really make me do this. So anything else on the James Williams stuff?
Oh, I was gonna say, like, he doubled down on his comments, and then Terrence Knighton basically like tripled down on the comments.
Yes.
And because you can say what you want, like freedom of thought does not mean you have freedom of repercussions.
Yeah.
Like you can't just say whatever the hell you want and think no one can say anything back. Like it was just very mishandled. And I'm going to just say one thing. There is a reason why Nebraska didn't even try and negotiate to keep him or Tony White. There's a reason. You saw it.
Yeah, exactly. I think they they really, maybe it's one of those things where they saw that, you know, maybe he wasn't fully bought into the program and just really had that relationship. Maybe they picked up on that relationship that he had Terrence Knighton and felt like it was best for him to just go follow him, which if that's the case, then so be it. But him talking like he was just such a massive part of this team, I just think to me is really, I don't know, he's extremely misguided in that regard. So all right, let's go ahead and get in some of the comments. The best Mickey Goldmill. Which cowback, what does it sound like? I said cowback would you want if you could choose? That's a good question.
I'm not totally educated on the running back, so I can't really make too much of an opinion here.
I looked at him earlier. You know, Javion Thomas, he's a smaller guy, right? 5'10", 190, but he was the leading back, 7 touchdowns, but averaged 6.3 yards per carry. Receiving wise, he didn't receive a lot. He was efficient, 11 receptions, 91 yards, 8.3 average, but his long was 56. So
that's skewed.
Yeah. Another one that was really efficient in terms of his, you know, yards per play and stuff like that. We have Kadarius Callaway, 6 foot 220 senior, so he's a bigger guy. But yeah, 26 carries, 124 yards as a senior, 1 touchdown, but not really a dual threat guy. So it's just a matter of what Nebraska's kind of looking for. And I do think that they want kind of that balanced back a little bit more, or, you know, because or if they miss, let's say they do want to go after McCray and they miss, they might go after, you know, one of these guys. Jaden Ott is junior, 6 foot 210, so he's a bigger guy. Only averaged 3.3 per carry, but in 2023, 245 carries, 1,305 yards, 5.3 average, 12 touchdowns, and receptions, 26 receptions for 196 yards. And receiving last year, 24 receptions for 222 yards with touchdown and 9.3 average. So, you know, he's a 6 foot 210. He's got good size, but he's also a balanced back. Didn't have the greatest year last year, but again, 2023 showed out very well. So I think there's a lot of good options. I just think it's a matter of what they think they need the most in this running back room.
Yeah, and they have the ability to be picky at least, because you know you got, in their opinion, 2 guys that you really like, Ives and Emmett. So they can be kind of picky here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And they don't have to be desperate. I think it's the biggest thing because, again, we talked about there is talent in the running back room. So it's one of those things where we don't have to go get somebody. We could use somebody. It would help us a lot, but we have a lot of unproven guys that could step up and just, you know, if they believe in these guys, then so be it. I trust their decision. But the way he mentioned it before, talking about how they do want to go after a running back potentially in the spring portal, I think they're going to at least, you know, kick the tires on it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Nebraska built Florida State. All the games Bowden played against the Huskers back in the day paid Florida State a lot of money to build their program. It's actually a good point. It wouldn't be a story if you didn't say it 100%. Just BS trash talking coming from Florida State. Yeah, 100%. I would say steroids built the Huskers back then. Listen, Otto, they didn't test back then. All right. Would you want a
Cannot
guy like?
confirm or deny.
Yeah. Would you want a guy more like guy like 23 or more like Emmett? I think Emmett just fits his role so well that, and there's a couple of other guys that are receiving backs and stuff like that too. I think, a guy who's a little bit bigger but still got that versatility that they need in this offense would be perfect.
Yeah, can't be one dimensional because if you recall last season, even when Emmett started playing over Dante, when Dante came in, Nebraska statistically, it was proven that they ran the ball 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Like at that point, you're just giving your plays away. So you have to have somebody that can be versatile because otherwise it's just so obvious what you're doing and you hope that you schemed better on that play.
Exactly. Yep. Mike, thank you for the $10, man. Mike.
Thank
generous.
you, Mike.
I appreciate you, man. You're awesome. Obviously it's spring, but so far I've been far more happier with the coaches speak this spring than last. Our D-line coach and Dana for sure bring the heat. And let's be honest, this staff has not been a staff that has really. I don't think that we've heard a lot of false truths from this staff over time. I think Matt Rule is. The only time I think that we've seen that is whenever we had a player hit the portal. Was it Chief Borders? And we found out after the fact that he was kind of talking Chief Borders up in the press conferences to kind of help him get to a different team. But that wasn't to boost, our ego or how we feel about the team or lie about where the state of the team is. That was more so just to kind of help him out. And that's just a Matt Rule thing. But other than that, he only singles out and spotlights players that deserve it. And he's not going to sit here like even last year, right? Like year one, even he came in immediately after the rough start and said, "This is what you hired me for, right? We're not going to win in year one. We may not win as much, fully in year two, but year three, year four, that's where we're going to see the dividends." He basically was like, "You brought me in to turn this around." And the tone season one was just like, we got a lot of work to do. Season two, it was like, we're feeling very confident about where we're at. And for all intents and purposes, Nebraska was a couple of bad breaks away from, 9 wins and even 10 wins and still won 7. It's like the one score losses still plagued us, but we won 7 games. And that's the thing. And this is kind of where that turnaround should happen. Now you got, rid of the older classmen, the upperclassmen. So I think a lot of that confidence now is coming from these younger guys that they've been able to bring up and develop because we've seen just how much better some of these guys play that have been developed by them more so than the guys that were only there for 1 year or last year, a couple of those guys that were only, under them for 2 years. Now we're getting those young guys up there and that vision's finally coming together. So
with the portal too, it's allowed to kind of speed up a little bit rules process. Typically year one was like 1 or 2 wins. Year two was like 4, maybe 5 wins. Nebraska sped up that process a little bit with the portal. They got 7, like you said, should get probably 8 or 9. I think year 3, we have a chance to potentially take off. I think people are not valuing how good this offensive line is looking right now.
I agree.
And that's going to take Nebraska a long way.
Yes.
The D-line will be a concern. Yes. They'll probably get somebody in the portal would be my guess.
Yeah.
But I think this offense is going to be better than the defense this year. They're going to carry us.
I agree to an extent for sure. I think the defense, it's going to be so, but I think the hard part is understanding that a lot of these offensive players, like, the core crux of the offensive players are still there. The Raiola, the Emmett Johnson, like the players that we looked at last year and like, these are the guys that we are going to build around. Those guys are there. It wasn't Jamal Banks. It wasn't Nair that we were thinking that with. Ja'Cory Barney, like these guys are still there. On top of we added some great players, but those core pieces still being there, that's not something that's necessarily happened on the defensive side because you had Nash and Ty. And I think that's where that uncertainty comes from on the defensive side of the ball and why there's a little bit more confidence in that opposite side of the ball. Would you kind of agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. Nebraska, you're replacing essentially your entire defensive line, your entire second level. The only thing that comes back is your secondary, which is the
Yep.
position group that struggled the most.
Yes.
So, it's a little concerning. I think they'll be fine, though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's going to take maybe a little bit more time.
Yeah, John Butler talked about the secondary today, which if we have time, we'll get into that. If not, we'll cut a video on it. They are blunt. Yes, they are. Comments I read about Williams indicated he was claiming the athleticism was better at FSU. Were there other comments I missed that you're talking about? Yeah, he was talking about how he feels like the overall talent was better because, they're corn-fed boys in the South. Even though
they don't
college
eat corn
football, it's
down
not
there.
high school. It's not. Yeah, it's not college. It's not high school football. It's college football. So those players came from all over. Just like Nebraska has guys from the South, but not just the South that plays football well. I feel like each region has their own brand of football. Like New Jersey, I talk all the time about New Jersey and their toughness, which is why I really like Quentin Ives, because they have that really tough brand of football up there. Florida, they got a lot of those speed guys, those athletic speed guys. I think Texas has probably the best mixture. They have the most first-round NFL picks that are in the NFL right now. So I think Texas has the most all-around athletes by far. The Midwest, you get those big, actual corn-fed guys. Those linemen,
the national
tight ends.
makers.
Yes, you get those guys from the Midwest. So I think each region has their own little bit of a flair to it. And I don't think it's just like, oh, we're in the South now, so we're better. You won 2 games last year. So yeah, there was a little bit more to it. And then he also said, Ty Robinson is big, but our nose tackle's bigger. So no disrespect to Ty, but basically saying this guy's going to better, essentially.
Yeah.
When
he forgets to not to spend more time on it, but Nebraska only had one person from the Midwest on their entire starting defense last year outside of Isaac Gifford.
Yep.
And Nash. So they had 2 of 11 guys that were from the Midwest. Everyone else was from the Southwest or the Southeast. It was just a stupid comment.
It was. Oh, my Lanta. There goes my camera. All right, we're back. I feel so Jackson Johnson's face pulled up there. Sorry, you had to see that. No, I'm kidding. Jackson's my boy. I feel so much better about the Huskers because of Holgorsen. 100% Otto. I think we all agree with you there. That is the biggest, still the biggest move in my opinion. Let's get Trey Taylor. We're going to call him Trailer from now on in 2027. I think we got a legitimate shot. I think we got a legitimate shot.
Nebraska and LSU.
I agree with you. I think there's a better shot than a lot of people realize. That would be massive. Let's see. Yeah, but sometimes when they know what's coming, they can't beat it. That's all you could hope for anyways. You mean Miami built FSU to be better with all those wide rights? Crap on FSU all day. Yeah, Bowden you got to respect too. Class act. Oh, Brian, you under the weather, Brian, or just testing new studio? He's talking about you. He's in a hotel lobby right now.
I just drove 6 hours across the state of Kansas, so
that's how committed
I'm pretty tired right now.
He drove 6 hours. He got there right as I was starting the show, and is on here from the hotel lobby. So that's why you hear the noise.
Can you hear the tunes playing?
Oh my God, yes. It's kind of annoying, but
it's just a vibe in here.
It is what it is. Let's see. He's in a hotel running from the cops. If you're running from the cops, the lobby's not the best place to be.
Yeah, pretty public.
Bumper boys street cred. Rule realizes if he says the team's good, that's translated to we're national champions here. Exactly. That's our fault. Yeah, we run with those comments. I hate all the orange teams and black and gold and yellow. I hate every team that's not us. If FSU is as good as he says, wouldn't their season show it? Yes, exactly. 2 wins. Yeah. Southeastern big bodies are. Yeah.
Florida State took Boston College's backup quarterback, and he'll be their starter next year.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of wild.
It's just,
We'll see how that season plays out for them. You look smoked, Brian. After this, get a drink and a nap, pal.
Well, I also on Saturday spent about 5 hours doing yard work, and I'm extremely pasty white, and so the second sun hits me, I get burnt to a crisp. And then I drove in the sun all day. So
yeah, I'm Irish. I'm 44% Irish. So I burn. pretty quick. So let's talk about a little bit about going into the defense and stuff like that. Let's talk a little bit about the comments from the press conferences today. And I'll go through a little bit. I know you didn't get a chance to watch it because you were on the road. So I'll run through some of the comments. You can give me, kind of your thoughts on it all. But, John Butler talking about, when overall asked about the defense, the connectivity of the 11 guys, it just seems like he really feels like we're in a good place with the secondary, which is good. Matt Rule talked about the other day, he thinks there's 6 corners and 5 safeties that could start. And there's 6 different guys that have repped the one at the corner. And then, he said Butler shows that their performances so far shows that they could be a strength. And one of the things that I like that he talked about is kind of what he looks for in his defensive backs, and especially his safeties: coverage, tackling, and playing the ball. And he emphasized tackling so damn much. He talked about coverage, tackling, and playing the ball, being able to play man, zone, match, be able to play all of those. That's the only way you're going to see the field, though, is you have to be able to tackle. He talks about tackling being a lost art. Because people are really, in the player safety age, people are really talking about emphasizing player safety, and they've gone away from that physicality in practice and actually tackling. He says the one way you get better at tackling is you tackle bodies. You don't tackle these cute little, toys, of the little rolling things and stuff like that. There's a place for those, right? But whenever you get an opportunity to tackle, you have to tackle bodies. And the other thing that he talked about is playing the ball. So, have to be able to kind of be able to react to the ball, break up the play, or intercept it. But he's like, if you're going to be near the play in college, those are probably going to turn into interceptions in the NFL. Yep. But and the last thing he said, smart, tough, and dependable. He said they have a ton of multiplicities on this defense. They want specific packages with specific guys. And so he said all of those guys are going to be out there, but they got to be able to adapt to all of the different motions and movements in the modern offenses. Those are the guys that are going to be out there. So, yeah, overall, your thoughts on that, because tackling was a big issue, especially at the safeties last year.
Yeah, tackling as a defensive back has to be the utmost important thing, especially in a 3-3-5 defense, because the whole purpose, and I've talked about this before, I think on other videos, the whole purpose of a 3-3-5 is to pin the middle and force the running backs to bounce it outside to your second and third level defenders, linebackers, safeties, and corners. That's why it's more important in a 3-3-5 than ever. And then part of it too, playing the ball. How many times did we see where there'd be a receiver, good coverage, and we're all sitting there yelling at the TV, turn the F around. The DBs were so clueless the ball was coming in. Just turn around, stick your hand up, pick it, whatever. There's so many instances last year I could think of, or really for the last 10 years, where DBs did not have good ball skills. And it's costed Nebraska time and time and time again.
Yeah, and another thing that he talked about is, how they show examples of NFL players that he's coached and stuff like that. Even, college players that Matt Rule's coached, to kind of show examples of what they're coaching, so it kind of clicks in their head. So talked about the tackling with secondary in Buffalo, Taron Johnson, Jordan Poyer. They showed Peanut Tillman, punching the ball out of people's hands.
Yeah.
He said that really helps make things click. But tackling is a work every single day. And when he asked how they were doing, he said they're progressing. And so I don't think he wants to be overzealous and be like, we're where we need to be, because we're probably still a long ways away from where we need to be, but we got a lot of time to go into that. And then also just talking about, when asked about the physicality of Matt Rule's practices, and he said the level of physicality he demands is elite. And he said every period they maximize the value of that. It's physical every single time, every single phase, special teams, the whole 9 down. The only time they're jogging through is right before practice. Yeah, but he said this is the reason Matt Rule teams have always been physical. He hasn't changed anything, but you have to practice with the intensity that you play. That reminded me a lot of what my coach says about, with boxing, with bigger guys. He's like, bigger guys have to train how they fight. And the smaller guys can get away with all that little, touching the pads and stuff like that. But bigger guys got to train how they fight. And in football, it's a physical game. You have to go out there and be physical, learn how to be physical. Otherwise, when you get on the field, you're not going to know how.
Yeah, if you think back to the Mike Riley era, there was a point where they were no longer tackling in practice. They started doing like a rugby style tackle, which doesn't really work very well in college football or really any level of football. And just think about how many guys were getting ran through after they were forced to do
Pause.
these rugby style
Pause.
tackling. Pause.
Continue.
I'm glad
Continue.
you caught that. Professional show.
Yeah, professional show here, guys.
But yeah, they were just getting lit up or not
Yeah.
making tackles. I lost my train of thought for a second there. And then we saw Nebraska under Matt Rule instantly go to these more physical practices, tackling to the ground as much as you can. And Tony White's defense, the last 3 years now, no issues with missed tackles for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been one of those things where it's like in moments it's been horrible. I mean, the Iowa game,
Oh, that game was fucking terrible.
That was, if we just tackle their running back on that Caleb Johnson on that one play where we had it bottled up, that game, we win that game. Tackling was terrible.
I remember that play. And it was like a little swing pass. And there was like 5 guys out there, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh yeah, like I clapping it up. I know they're about to make the tackle, and then how the heck did he just get out of that? And how is he scoring 80 yards down the field?
That was insane. We knocked our own player off. Maybe Nico goes to Florida State. Maybe. What I like about Rule is he's doing things his way, popular or not. That's how he's always been. He's a trendsetter. Like he's really good at seeing things coming and preparing for it in advance. The spring game, canceling that. Everybody followed suit. So yeah. We're all Nebraska sports talking, even giving Williams a minute talk times. Obviously, guys trolling nobody. Well, the thing about when we talk about sports is we talk about the big stories and we talk about what people want to talk about. So that's the way this works.
Also April.
Yeah, like what else do you want us to talk about? We're talking about a little bit of everything. So yeah, I don't know if that's Stefan or Steven, but yeah, that's just the way it goes. Whatever we follow what people want to talk about. Right now, it's a big story. So 44% Irish, 0 Mountain. You would be correct right there, Pit Snipe. Shower off the road, Des Brian. Any news on Huffkin progress? He looks like a beast. No, they are
probably a year or 2 away.
We cannot find anything on Huffkin, but he's still very raw. But again, I think he's a guy who can come out and disrupt situationally with his athleticism and his length alone. But I do think maybe he's about a year away from seeing the field, in a lot of snaps. But that's not, he's a grown man. He's got that grown man strength. He's a big old boy, long arms. But yeah, originally they, when they did that camp where they found him, he was testing out as a tackle, offensive tackle. And Nebraska liked what they saw from him on the defensive line and defensive end position. So that's where they put him. So we'll see how that progress is coming along. Trying to constantly find out from Huffkin because I'm as big of Huffkin fan as anybody. So then I missed the portal running back part. It was right in the beginning, Pit Snipe. We were talking about Josh McCray from Illinois, 6'1", 235, hitting the portal, would be a great fit for Nebraska. So if you want to rewind after the show, go check that out. Yeah, see, Fongway's still upset that we're talking about a 10-3 team that he thinks is mediocre. Let's see. Hoffkin, everybody's curious about Hoffkin. It's Husker potpourri. The Williams story.
Huffkin, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was gonna say people forget Huffkin didn't play football for like 2 years because COVID happened in 2020, and he's over in Germany where they don't have really organized football. Some things happened into his life, and he sat out for 2 years. Like, it's going to take time to rebuild all of those skills that hadn't been used.
Well, and he didn't start playing till like 2017. So he's only played since 2017, and he took 2 years off in the middle of that. But he was playing at the elite of the elite over in Germany. But, that's Germany. But still, I just think he's just the perfect Matt Rule guy. And I think Matt Rule is going to turn him into a monster for sure. Mm-hmm. So, all right, getting into, I just want to pull this up for you. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen here. So I can show y'all this. And this is what somebody brought up earlier in the show about how we went about. Oh, I had the show playing in the background for some reason. All right. So it's talking about how we went about getting Mike Eckler, and very surprising information here, but This will make
I have not
you
seen this.
this will make you like Mr. Well, I'll just let it play for you so you can see who you're going to like a lot more. But here we go.
Conversations with Rule to get you back over to Nebraska.
Well, it started off with Will Compton. When Coach made the change, literally Will Compton called me like 30 seconds later and said, "Heck, you need to go home, man. You need to go back." He goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'd think about it. So he said, "I'm calling Coach Rule." So that's how it kind of started. So Will Compton it's ironic because he was the first player I ever recruited as a full-time coach when I was here at Nebraska. And so it kind of came back full circle.
We owe Will
Shout
Compton.
out Will Compton.
We owe Will Compton.
Well, I remember because he posted that tweet or whatever about bringing Eck back, and this was like fairly quickly after the news broke. And my initial thought was, there is no way in hell Coach Eckler lets him post that if it's not a discussion already. That's when I knew like it was legit for a real possibility.
Yeah, it's crazy that like he gives him credit as the guy who like springboarded the whole thing. Surprised Matt Rule didn't reach out quicker, but yeah, it's in the full circle aspect. It's just kind of crazy. First he recruited Will Compton. Will Compton was the guy who hit him up, but Will Compton's a true fan of Nebraska, so he's going to do. He's kind of like he kind of does for Nebraska what Dave Portnoy does for Michigan, where he's just going to like try to help them out as much as possible, use his platform to help them out as much as possible. Although Portnoy wasn't a former player, but they use their following, they use their leverage and connections to try to help their teams out. So Will Compton, big shout out there, because as we talked about before, Mike Eckler is going to really revamp. Like the special teams are going to be night and day better next year, without question. There's no doubt in my mind.
Even if you get like a 50% improvement across the board, you probably win 2 more games alone off that.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. The Williams story crapped on our lads. This one right here, Pit Snipe, that is right on point right there. Let's see. Did Matt Rule get a Mike Eckler tattoo? Will Compton might have. Eckler's the man, and Will, once a Husker, always a Husker. Exactly. Watch the special teams this year. They're going to be great.
Yep.
We should all get Coach Eck tattoos if he makes special teams better. Everybody's roasting me on Mini Show last night for having tattoos. People don't like them.
I have like 17, so
yeah, 17.
Whatever.
Well,
I just cover it all.
It's just old school people. It's more old school people. Majority of people like them, in my opinion. Let's see. And call back to last night's combo. Exactly. Right on our foreheads. Yes. Pit Snipe was in there. He was one of them getting in there too. Because I told him I was wrapping my neck tattoo all the way around, and eventually, but I'm never getting a face. Tattoo right on our foreheads, Mini. So the reason why, I'm gonna get a neck tattoo around here, it takes all the focus off of my receding hairline. So
it's a good strategy.
It is.
I'm gonna join you here soon. I'm getting bad.
Yeah, yours is a little bit ahead of mine, but hell yeah, football. That's what I'm talking about initially.
Football. That's my wife.
Oh, is it? Well, hello.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, football.
She's in the pool with the kids right now.
Is she one of those yay sports types, or is she a big Husker fan?
She could give a shit less about sports.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's surprising is the sport my wife, because she didn't give a crap about sports before she met me. But the sport that she got into the most, baseball. Yep. Astros.
I love playing baseball, but I cannot watch. It's hard. It is a hard sport to
watch. I watch every Astros game that I can every single year. It's even when we're losing 100 games, I was paying $3 for a ticket driving to the stadium because nobody was there. And after they check the front row seats, I just move up.
Oh, that's a great idea. Care.
Yeah, I just bought them up in the upper deck and then just worked my way down. I love them. Justin loves some tattoos. I wasn't roasting you, bro. You're pretty. I appreciate that, Pit Snipe. That's my boy right there. You're my boy, Blue. The special teams are good this year. We all got to shave heads. Yeah, let's do it. I'm down for that. Get your wives' names on your neck. Absolutely not. That's a recipe for disaster. I got hair to sell. I appreciate it. Bald is beautiful. As long as I don't have a weird shaped head. That's the thing. I think my head shape is all right, but
My wife says I have a decent shaped head to go bald, so I've considered it for about a month now.
But I'm afraid I won't find out until I actually shave it. So we'll see. That's why I got married before I lost it. She's forced to love me now. So let's talk a little bit about Riley Van Poppel. We talked about the defensive line a little bit. But Riley Van Poppel talked today, briefly about kind of his progress and where he thinks the D line stands. And, he says he has a lot of confidence in where they stand. He said, even last season, credit to Corey Campbell, who we praise a lot on the show. He talked about how from the Colorado game towards the end of the season, he even gained like 8 to 10 pounds, and is much prepared to take on a bigger role, and probably leaned out in that process too. But he looks big up at the podium, looks really big. But of course, talked about how they lost 3 starters in the line, but nobody's irreplaceable. With all due respect to those guys, but he has confidence. Says he likes where they're at. And when talking about redshirting, he said you prepare all off season and you want to play on Saturdays, but and then he got redshirted a couple weeks in the season. He said that was hard for him to deal with, but it helped him grow because then he transitioned from what he can do to help the team on Saturdays to what he can do to help the team in preparation. So he's like, I did whatever I had to do to help the team. Whether it be, offensive scout team or anything like that, just was a team player. And now he feels like he's in a position where he knows he has to step up because this D-line room, again, not a lot of depth in it, but he wants to be someone that the team can count on as a player. And so very mature beyond his years. I believe Riley Van Poppel, we've talked about him a lot, and we think he's going to be very, very good. But the interior D-line, it still needs some bodies badly.
Yes, definitely. And the RVP situation where he redshirted last season could have gone one of 2 ways. He could have done what Malachi did and transfer out and say, I'm not doing this crap. Or he could have done what he did, which is grind, figure out a way to benefit the team and benefit himself. It put him in a better position because he wasn't going to play a lot anyways last year because of Ty and because of Nash. It was the right thing to do, and it was a very bold thing for Rule to do, and I'm glad it worked out. He's a guy I look at very similar to Ty Robinson in the sense that he can play inside and outside because he has that ability to rush the passer, but also to hold up on the interior against the guards and the centers. I think he probably plays a little bit more inside because Nebraska's depth on the outside, I think, is a little bit better right now. Really inside, all we got is RVP, Elijah Judy, Dylan Parrott potentially. He's like 6'5", 330. He's huge. He's also a walk-on. And then now we can at least confirm that Gabe Moore is about 300 pounds. So that's a 4th body. They need to add one more. I really like that portal guy from Southeast Missouri, I think, is a FCS school or Division II school maybe. He just entered the portal. He had like 45 tackles as a redshirt freshman. He looked like a big physical presence in the middle that we could plug in for 10, 15 snaps a game. But they need to address that in the portal.
Absolutely. Yeah, D-line, running back are 2 things that they are definitely going to kick the tires on in this portal. So, and like we talked about before, this could transpire really quickly once this spring portal opens. Justin looks like a 4-year-old that did hard time. That's a pretty accurate description. I feel like I look like a 30-year-old that did hard time. Taking +5 for that one. Personally, I think we will know where we're at as a team when we play Michigan. I will be at that game, by the way. So that's my family trip. I always go out there to see my family every year. So I will be at the Michigan game. So y'all can find me there if y'all want to meet up, whatever. Y'all come find me out there. Me and Minnie and we're talking about earlier. We want to do a live post game from a watch party out here too. So Connor Hayden from Corn Craze is moving out here to Arizona. So probably reach out to him, get him involved. So that's something to look forward to too. We want to try to do that week 1 if we can. So game 1's got no shortage of things to show us too, frankly. Exactly. That opener against Cincinnati would be a big litmus test because with us, Power 5 openers it's been rough.
Disaster.
Been rough. Been really rough. Northwestern, Illinois, who else? Last year's Minnesota.
Rules first season.
Yeah. So that'll be a good litmus test. But I believe if we come out and win that game, which we should, That's going to set the tone for this season. I think it's going to give them a lot of confidence because a lot of us forget coming out the first 2 weeks of the season before the Colorado game, we weren't very confident in this team and the way they looked, albeit against lesser competition. UTEP and Northern Iowa didn't score in the second half of the game. So yeah, Cam Lindhart, monster.
He'll be good.
Cam Lindhart is a leader, and when you hear him at the podium, he sounds like a 40-year-old mature grown man the way he talks. Like he is wise.
He's also looked like that since he was 18.
Exactly. It's crazy. So Cam Lindhart's going to be very, very good. Let's meet up. I'll be in the north end zone. Gotcha. Yep, I'll be out there. We usually get out there very early in the morning. So my dad played in a band that played at Rosie's, but they play out there every year. So they play every single game called the Sidetrack Band. And my dad joined their band when he was 13, way back in the day, and played bass for him. And so I get up there and sing with them too. So I'll let y'all know where I'm going to be at. So y'all can come over there and pregame with us. But we get out there early in the morning, like 7 a.m. So God, is Connor taking a break, or has YouTube algo wiped him from my feed? I feel like he's in the process of moving. But also at the same time, his content's kind of sporadic during the off season, but he picks it up towards the season. But I believe he's still doing some live streams occasionally, pushing out some content. So
the algorithm's also kind of jacked up right now.
Yeah, it is. We're trying to get back in it too. So and he's moving to Phoenix next week. So he's in the middle of a move right now. So probably hard for him to put out content for sure. So haven't seen anything for like 3 months. Yeah, he's probably just been in that process. But he'll be back, and hopefully we can get that all lined up for y'all. Because again, we talked about it last night on a mini show. 6 or 7 Husker bars out here in the Valley, and they shut them down for Husker fans to get there. There's a huge contingent of Husker fans out here, so that would be fun to do a live post game.
Yeah, there's a huge alumni group, isn't there?
Yep, Huskers in Arizona alumni group. Yep, and so last thing, just touching real quick. Sierra Wright talked a little bit. Just talked about his overall growth. His limited role early in the season last year, and how he was able to sit back. He said he was able to see, where he would fit in the defense that allowed him to kind of learn and be better. And we saw the fruits of that labor pay off as the season went along. He just seemed to get better and better. He's also credited Butler coming in and his NFL experience, allowing him to be a sponge and help the game slow down a lot for him. But he also said that room is very, very competitive. So he said the staff's brought in players that are great fits. Mentioned specifically Marquez Trent Watson and Dason McCullough. And, they came in and asked questions immediately, trying to learn the defense. And so, like they talked about a multiplicity of schemes, but it seems like Sierra's is really kind of hitting his stride and finding his footing, especially under Butler.
Sierra's is a freaking stud. I love that kid.
Ball skills are
he came in against Illinois, I believe, was when he first came in, and immediately started shutting down their top receiver. And I was like, how the hell is this guy not seeing the field all year?
Yep.
We pretty much forgot about Tommy Hill by the end of the Illinois game because Sierra Wright was so good, and he did it for the rest of the season. Really good player.
He did. He was cornerback one by far. Raggy trivia. Who quotes Scooby as saying "Rut-row Raggy"? I don't want to say it, but I never really watched Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Is that blasphemy? Like, is that wrong? Connor and I are going to the Michigan game also. Oh, cool. Well, we'll all be out there.
Yeah, I sit in North End Zone too, so we can do it all from the stands right there.
Huge group out there. Yeah, exactly. Scooby never said Rut-row. That was Astro and the Jetsons. Is that one of those, like, what do they call that? What is that effect?
Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect, yeah. Elevated music in the background, nice. Yeah, he's in a hotel lobby right now, and Justin, was it Justin or Pit Snipe saying you're running from the cops? So, but he's not doing a very good job at hiding, if so.
Can confirm I'm running for the cops.
Can confirm. All right, guys. Well, a lot of people in here. If y'all don't mind dropping a like, we got about 60 people in here. So I appreciate everybody who tuned in for the show. I'm going to let Brian get on his way so he can go up and rest. He looks like he's falling asleep in the chair. So, Brian, thank you so much for being so committed to the show. After a 6-hour drive, he checked in right as the show was starting, popped down at the hotel lobby, and now he's going to go probably take a nap. So we got some
pool first.
Yeah, that'll wake you up a little bit. We got some content coming for y'all this week. As everything picks up, we're picking up as well. So y'all stay tuned for everything we got coming for y'all. We are going to be starting a call-in show maybe this Thursday. So either this Thursday or next Thursday, we're going to be starting up a call-in show. So y'all stay tuned for that. We're going to be running that weekly. So y'all can hop on there and, call into the show and we can talk to y'all, and don't get us banned off YouTube. That's all we ask. So, the Mandela effect thing. Justin, I messaged you on Discord. I wasn't able to on Twitter. Okay, I'll open the Discord. I don't think my notification's on the Discord, so I think that's why it's been out of sight, out of mind for that. But Justin, I'll hop on there and check that out. So I'll be your Caden, Jay. What does that mean? Pitt's not.
No idea.
I'm just gonna let you go off. So, all right, everybody. Well, again, thank y'all for tuning into the show. We are here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central. Y'all stay tuned for updates about the call-in show. If you want to follow me on X, you can find it right there. Well, never mind. I don't have it clicked on show but it's at the bottom of the screen. Brian, tell them where they can find you on X.
KC Husker 24.
KC Husker 24. Caden harasses Mark on his call-ins. There's a few people that harass Mark on his call-ins. There's a few people. Chris is the funniest one. So I like it. Good shoe, guys. Thank you. I like my shoes too, Minnie. No, I appreciate that. Thanks, Minnie.
Thank you, Minnie.
And thanks everybody again for hopping in here. And with that being said, we will see you on the next video. Peace.